I'm 68 years old. My name is David Brennan. 3 months ago, my oncologist told me the leukemia had come back, third time now. He didn't say much after that, but I could read his face. We've known each other 11 years, through 2 remissions, and this time he couldn't quite look me in the eye when he said, "We'll make you comfortable." Comfortable. That's the word they use when there's nothing left to fight with. So here I am, probably living through my last year. 2025 might have been the last full year I get. And honestly, I'm not scared of dying. I'm scared I spent too much of my life chasing things that never mattered. I need to tell you something while I still can. Not because I think I've got it all figured out, but because maybe my mistakes can help you avoid your own, I grew up in El Paso, 4th of 6 kids. My father worked construction. My mother cleaned houses. We didn't have much, but that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was watching my father come home every night looking like the world had beaten him down 1 brick at a time. He never complained, but I could see it in his shoulders, the way they curved forward, like he was carrying something too heavy to ever put down. I promised myself I'd be different, I'd be successful, I'd matter. So I worked, studied engineering, got a scholarship, moved to Houston, built a career in petroleum, made good money, better than my father ever saw. I bought a house in a nice neighborhood, sent my kids to private schools, took vacations we'd never even dreamed about growing up. I thought I'd made it. But here's what I didn't realize until way too late. I was so busy trying not to be my father that I forgot to actually be present for my own life, My marriage to Carmen lasted 26 years. 26 years of living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, and somehow missing each other completely. She'd try to talk to me, really talk, about things that mattered to her. Her photography hobby she wanted to pursue, places she dreamed of visiting, thoughts she had about life, about us, about what came next. And I'd listen with half my brain while the other half was still at the office, still solving problems, still climbing, I thought providing was love. I thought paying for things meant I cared. I thought my exhaustion was proof of my commitment. It wasn't. Carmen left me in 2014. She didn't make a scene. She just sat me down one evening and said, "David, I've been lonely for so long I forgot what it feels like not to be." Then she packed a bag and moved in with her sister. I was blindsided. I genuinely didn't see it coming. We weren't fighting. We were civil, cooperative even, But she was right. We weren't connected. We were 2 people managing a household, not 2 people sharing a life. We divorced a year later, friendly enough, no big battles over money or assets. She took what she wanted. I kept the house. We told the kids it was mutual, that we'd grown apart. But the truth was simpler and worse. I'd never really grown toward her in the first place, After the divorce, I threw myself even harder into work. If I couldn't succeed at marriage, at least I could succeed at my career, right? I traveled more, took on bigger projects, made more money. I convinced myself that's what success looked like. Then I got sick. First time was 2015, acute myeloid leukemia. The doctor said it was treatable, and it was. Chemo, remission, back to work. I thought I'd beaten it. It came back in 2019. Harder fight this time, but I won again. Went into remission, got back to normal, sort of normal. Because by then, normal meant coming home to an empty house. My kids were grown, living their own lives. Carmen had remarried, moved to Austin. I had my career, my projects, my accomplishments, and I was lonely in a way I'd never admitted to myself before. When the cancer came back this time, last October, I knew it was different. My doctor's face told me everything, and for the first time in my life, I couldn't work my way out of a problem. I couldn't strategize or optimize or engineer a solution. I just had to sit with it, sit with the fact that I'd spent decades chasing a version of success that meant nothing now, that I'd sacrificed connection for achievement, presence for productivity, that I'd become exactly what I'd feared, someone who worked themselves into the ground, but for completely different reasons than my father. He worked to feed his family. I worked to prove something. To who? I still don't know. Last month, I went through some old boxes looking for insurance papers, found a folder of letters Carmen had written me over the years. Birthday cards, anniversary notes, random letters from when I'd travel for work. In one from 1998, she wrote, "I miss you, even when you're home." That sentence cracked something open in me because she was right. I was physically present but emotionally absent, sitting at the dinner table but mentally at the office, home for the weekend but thinking about Monday. I called her. First real conversation we'd had in years. I didn't ask her to come back or anything stupid like that. I just apologized, told her she deserved better than what I gave her. That she was right to leave, you know. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something I think about constantly now. She said, "David, I never needed you to be successful. I needed you to be there, present, engaged, curious about her life, not just funding it." That's the thing nobody tells you when you're young and ambitious. They tell you to work hard, to provide, to achieve. And those things matter, sure. But they don't tell you the cost. They don't tell you that you can win at your career and lose at your life. That you can build an impressive resume and a hollow existence. That success means nothing if you're experiencing it alone. I think about my father differently now. He came home exhausted because the work was hard, not because he was obsessed with it. When he was home, he was actually home. He played with us, argued with my mother about small things, sat on the porch with neighbors. He was present in a way I never learned to be. Maybe he had it more figured out than I thought, you know. I'm 68 years old. I probably won't see 2027, and when I think about what I'm leaving behind, I don't think about the projects I completed or the money I made. I think about moments I missed, school plays I skipped for meetings, vacations I cut short for conference calls, conversations I didn't have because I was too tired or too distracted or too, important. My son told me last week that he remembers me being gone more than being there, not with anger, just as a fact, and that hurts worse than any of the anger would have. My daughter said she learned what a good husband looks like from her stepdad, not from me. She didn't mean it as a dig. She was just being honest. But honest hurts, you know. If you're reading this and you're young, or even middle-aged, still building your life, let me tell you something. Presence is not the same as proximity. Being in the room doesn't mean you're actually there, and the people in your life won't remember how hard you worked or how much you achieved. They'll remember whether you showed up for them, really showed up. Not just physically, but emotionally, not just with your body, but with your attention, your curiosity, your care. I wasted so much time optimizing the wrong things, optimizing my career, my productivity, my output, when what I should have been optimizing for was connection, for depth, for presence, you know. Those things don't feel urgent when you're young. There's always tomorrow to have that conversation, to take that trip, to really listen. But tomorrow is a lie. Tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year, and suddenly you're 68 with a third cancer diagnosis and a life full of, what ifs. Last week, I met with my kids, both of them. We sat in my backyard, and I told them I was sorry. Not sorry in a vague way, but specifically sorry for missing their games, their recitals, their everyday struggles. Sorry for prioritizing work over them so many times they stopped asking me to choose differently. Sorry for modeling a version of manhood that made them think distance was strength. They both cried. I cried. It didn't fix anything, but it was real. It was present. It was 20 years too late, and also exactly on time. My son said something that stuck with me. He said, "Dad, I always knew you loved us. I just didn't always feel it." And that's the thing, isn't it? Love that isn't communicated, isn't felt, isn't experienced through presence and attention. Is it really love? Or is it just an idea we comfort ourselves with while we're busy doing other things? You know? I don't know if you believe in God or an afterlife or anything beyond this. I'm not sure what I believe anymore, but I do believe this. The only thing that survives us is how we made people feel. Not what we accomplished, not what we earned, not what we built. How we made the people closest to us feel. And I made the people I loved feel secondary, optional, like they were on my list of priorities somewhere after work but before sleep. That's the legacy I'm leaving, and I can't change it now, but maybe you can change yours. If someone in your life is asking for your time, give it. If someone wants to talk, put your phone down and listen. If someone invites you to something, go. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire to be part of their life. You know, the work will always be there. The emails will always pile up. There will always be one more project, one more deadline, one more thing that feels urgent. But the people you love won't always be there, and neither will you. I'm running out of time. That's not self-pity, just reality. And I'm trying to use what's left intentionally. Calling old friends, writing letters, having real conversations with my kids, telling people what they meant to me, what I wish I'd done differently. It's not enough, but it's what I have. If you take anything from this, take this. Your life is happening right now. Not when you get the promotion, not when you retire, not someday when things calm down. Right now. And the people in your life need you right now. Not the version of you that might show up later when you're less busy. I spent my whole life preparing for a future that never came the way I imagined. And in doing that, I missed the present that was actually happening, you know. Don't do what I did. Don't wait for a diagnosis to realize what matters. Don't wait until it's too late to show up. Be there, be present, be engaged. That's it. That's the whole thing. I'm David Brennan. I'm 68 years old. This is probably my last year, and if my story helps even one person choose differently, then maybe it counted for something after all. Thanks for listening. If this meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment about what you're going to do differently, and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. You know, we've all got limited time. Let's use it on what actually matters.